It was a rainy, gloomy night when Sarah arrived home after a long day at work. As usual, she checked her mailbox before entering the house. Among the bills and advertising leaflets, a crumpled white envelope caught her attention. There was no return address, just her name handwritten on the front. Sarah curiously took the envelope and went into the house. She sat at the kitchen table and, with shaking hands, opened the envelope. Her eyes widened as she pulled out an old yellowed piece of paper. It was an invitation to the abandoned Crescent Hotel. She had never heard of this hotel, but something about the invitation intrigued her deeply. The words were written in an elegant, old-fashioned script. It said, "Come to the Hotel Crescents at midnight next Friday. There's something you need to see." The invitation seemed so mysterious and intriguing that Sarah couldn't resist the temptation. Curiosity was her weakness, and this mysterious invocation left her uneasy. Why would someone invite her to an abandoned hotel? What secrets did he hide? The days passed slowly as Sarah pondered the invitation. She decided to research the Hotel Crescents and discovered that it was a local legend, known for being a cursed and haunted place. Local residents avoided the place and told stories of ghostly apparitions and unexplained events that occurred there. Despite all the warnings, Sarah's curiosity only grew. She decided that she would accept the invitation and visit the Hotel Crescents next Friday at midnight. The idea of exploring such a dark and mysterious place excited and scared her at the same time. As Friday approached, Sarah began making preparations. She bought a flashlight, dressed in comfortable clothes, and left a note at her home informing a close friend of her location and her plan. She didn't know what she would find in the abandoned hotel, and it was better to be safe than sorry. On the appointed night, the sky was dark and cloudy. A fine rain was falling, creating an even more sinister atmosphere. Sarah drove to the Hotel Crescents, which was located in a secluded area of the city. The place seemed forgotten by time and civilization, a grim shadow against the night sky. Upon arrival, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she looked at the decaying building. It stood before her with broken windows and an aura of abandonment. The feeling that she was entering unknown territory was overwhelming. Sarah took a deep breath and, holding the flashlight tightly, opened the hotel's rusty wooden door. A sharp creak echoed through the empty hallway, and she hesitated for a moment before taking her first step into the unknown. There was no turning back now. She was about to discover what the Hotel Crescent held in its forgotten shadows. Sarah entered the lobby of the Hotel Crescents with her flashlight lighting the way. The room was immersed in silence, except for the noises of the old building adjusting to her presence. The walls were peeling and the furniture was covered in dusty sheets, as if time had stopped there. She walked slowly through the lobby, examining the old paintings that hung on the walls. They were photos of guests from the past, all with friendly smiles and unsuspecting looks. Sarah felt a chill when she thought that many of them might never have left the hotel. Following the instructions on the invitation, she climbed the creaking stairs towards the bedrooms. Each step seemed to echo through the structure of the abandoned building, creating a feeling of oppression. When she reached the first-floor hallway, the flashlight illuminated the bedroom doors, each of which seemed to hide dark secrets. Sarah stopped in front of the door of the room indicated in the invitation. The wood was worn, but the lock appeared intact. She inserted the key she had found along with the invitation and slowly turned it. The door opened with a sharp creak, revealing a dark, dusty interior. The flashlight revealed a room furnished as if time had frozen. The furniture was covered in aged sheets, and an unmade bed occupied the center of the room. A single candle lit on the nightstand cast dancing shadows across the walls. Sarah hesitated at the entrance to the room, looking around warily. The invitation indicated that there was something you need to see, but for now, all she saw was an empty, abandoned room. She approached the candle, illuminating a framed photo on the table. The image was in black and white, showing the Hotel Crescents in its glory days, surrounded by smiling guests. She picked up the photo and examined the happy faces of the people in the image. It was a familiar scene from the distant past, but suddenly, a whispering voice echoed through the room, making Sarah jump. She dropped the photo, which fell to the floor with a muffled thud. Her voice sounded distant, but her name was clearly pronounced. Sarah. Sarah looked around, looking for the source of the voice, but there was no one there. The air turned cold, and a feeling of oppression enveloped her. She began to feel restless, aware that she was not alone in that room. It was then that her whispering voice turned into a high-pitched, anguished wail. The shadows around her began to move, dancing and writhing across the walls. Sarah stood frozen in terror as the shadows approached, forming sinister, menacing figures. She tried to back away, but her legs felt as heavy as lead. The whispering voice continued, whispering her name over and over again. Sarah was trapped in a nightmare unfolding before her eyes, and there was no escape. Whatever had invited her to the Hotel Crescent was now revealing her true purpose, and Sarah was at the center of something sinister and inexplicable. Sarah stood transfixed in the dark room as the shadows writhed and danced around her. The whispering voice that called her name continued to echo, getting closer and more insistent. Her heart was beating wildly, and cold sweat covered her forehead. Sarah. The voice echoed louder, sending shivers down her spine. She finally managed to take a step back, but she tripped and fell to the dusty floor. The flashlight rolled away, leaving her in darkness. The shadows seemed to gain shape and substance, creating shadowy, indistinct figures. Sarah tried to scream, but her throat was dry. She could feel the malevolent presence getting closer and closer, as if she was about to be swallowed by darkness. That was when the whispering voice said his name for the last time, but now with a tone of despair. Sarah, you need to understand. Suddenly, the room was flooded with an intense light that seemed to burn away the shadows. Sarah covered her eyes with her hands, trying to protect herself from the intensity of the light. When she finally dared to look again, she saw a figure before her. It was a woman, dressed in an antique white dress. Her eyes were deep wells of sadness and anguish, but her expression was one of urgency. You need to understand the truth, Sarah, the woman said in a soft but powerful whisper. Sarah looked at the woman in disbelief, not understanding what was happening. Who are you? What's going on here? The woman slowly approached and extended her hand towards Sarah. My name is Emily, she said. I was a guest at this hotel a long time ago. I was one of the victims of your dark secret. Sarah looked at Emily, realizing that she wasn't alone in that room. There was something terribly wrong with the Hotel Crescents, something that kept souls trapped and condemned. Emily continued her story, explaining how the hotel had been the scene of terrible tragedies in the past. Guests had mysteriously disappeared, and their souls were trapped in the hotel's shadows, unable to find peace. The whispering voice she had called Sarah to was actually the voice of tormented souls, crying out for help. Sarah finally understood that the mysterious invitation had led to a frightening revelation. She stood before the lost souls of the Hotel Crescent, and they needed her help to break the curse that held them captive. Determined to do the right thing, Sarah agreed to help Emily and the other souls find peace. Emily explained that there was an ancient book of rituals hidden in the hotel's basement, a book that held the key to breaking the curse. Sarah agreed to fetch the book and perform the necessary ritual. With flashlight in hand, Sarah followed Emily into the hotel's dark, dank basement. There, among piles of old objects and dust, she found the ancient book. The pages were yellowed and worn, but the instructions were clear. Sarah and Emily began the ritual, reciting ancient words and lighting candles. As the ritual progressed, the hotel shook and the shadows writhed in agony. It seemed that the dark forces that held the hotel captive were fighting to maintain their hold. Finally, with one last effort, the ritual was completed. A bright light enveloped Emily and the other lost souls. The shadows receded and the hotel quieted. The souls found the peace they longed for, slowly disappearing. Sarah knew she had done the right thing, freeing the trapped souls and breaking the curse plaguing the Hotel Crescent. She looked around, seeing the place now empty of their shadowy presences. But what she didn't know was that this experience would permanently link her to the Hotel Crescents and its macabre history. The night was far from over, and Sarah was about to discover more dark secrets that the hotel was hiding. With the souls freed and the ritual completed, Sarah thought she had finally solved the mystery of the Hotel Crescents. She felt relieved to see the shadows recede and the ominous atmosphere of the hotel dissipate. But she was far from out of danger. Emily looked at Sarah with gratitude and sadness in her eyes. "You freed us," Emily said in a soft whisper. "But the curse has not been completely broken. The hotel holds dark secrets that cannot be ignored." Sarah was confused. She thought that she had accomplished her mission and that she could now leave the hotel behind. However, Emily led her to a secret door that led to an underground corridor. It was a place few knew about, and Sarah's curiosity led her to follow Emily. They walked down a narrow, dark corridor, Sarah's flashlight lighting the way. With each step, the atmosphere seemed to grow heavier and more oppressive. Finally, they arrived at a hidden room. Inside the room, Sarah saw something that took her breath away. There were a series of portraits on the walls, each showing different people. But what terrified Sarah was the eerie resemblance between these people and the faces of friends and family she knew. Emily explained that the hotel had been a place where lost souls were imprisoned, and the portraits were a representation of the loved ones of those who had fallen victim to the curse. The curse of the Hotel Crescent was more deeply intertwined with Sarah's life than she had ever imagined. "You are the key to breaking the curse once and for all," Emily said. "The connection between you and the souls that have been imprisoned here is stronger than you can imagine. You must brave the hotel's darkest secrets to fully free these souls." Sarah looked at the portraits and finally understood the extent of what was happening. She knew that she could not abandon these souls to their fate. She agreed to help Emily and the other souls break the curse once and for all. The journey that followed was full of danger and terrible revelations. Sarah discovered that the Hotel Crescents had a dark history of spiritual exploration, where lives were sacrificed in the search for power. She found secret passages, hidden rooms, and ancient records that detailed the atrocities committed there. As Sarah delved deeper into the hotel's secrets, shadows and restless spirits tried to stop her at all costs. She faced ghostly apparitions and terrifying visions, but her determination and connection to the imprisoned souls kept her moving forward. Finally, after many trials and challenges, Sarah found the place where the curse of the Hotel Crescent was anchored. With Emily's guidance, she performed one last powerful ritual to break the curse once and for all. The hotel shook and shook as the curse was lifted. The shadows disappeared, and the restless spirits finally found peace. Sarah looked around, seeing the hotel crumble and turn into ruins before her eyes. She knew the curse was broken, but she also knew she could never return to the Hotel Crescent again. The souls she had helped free thanked her and disappeared, leaving her alone in the ruins of what was once a cursed place. Sarah left the hotel and looked up at the night sky, feeling profound relief. She had faced the terror, broken the curse, and freed lost souls. But this experience would leave a mark on her forever, reminding her that the Hotel Crescent's dark past could never be forgotten. And so, with a sigh of relief and a sense of accomplishment, Sarah left the place, determined to move on with her life. She knew that she was linked to the Hotel Crescent in a unique way, but she was determined to ensure that her horror story would not be repeated.